Hey, good morning. It is about 11 o'clock here on September 26th, a Thursday, and we're having some really nice weather here across central Illinois, but things are going to change for a good chunk of the country from the Gulf Coast area, Florida in particular, and up into Georgia. And eventually that system will be moving our way, and an unusual turn of direction for it here. So we're going to spend some time and talk about Hurricane Helene, and we'll cover a little bit more on the regional scale, what's happening with that. Then also I expect to talk more locally, what we expect here in central Illinois from Helene, as this could impact some of your plans as we look towards the weekend and whatnot. So we'll break it down, talk about that. And then at the end, I'm going to answer any questions that you have. And I know we got people that are watching from all over. Some of you may have friends and family that are down that way, want to know what's going on from Macon, Georgia, maybe down Jacksonville, things like that. We'll talk about that. And then again, we'll finish up here talking locally here in Illinois, what is going on. So Hurricane Helene right now is one of three active systems that are in the tropics here. And there's actually a new storm out in the open waters. That one has been named. It's got the I name and is moving off to the east. Not a concern. This one probably not going to be a concern either. Might get the next name in the list even then. We're going to focus our time on Helene because it is that's a very ominous signature here, ominous satellite imagery. And this is a look at now infrared. I switched it to take a peek at that here. You can see right there is the hurricane as it's moving on in. We'll zoom in on it. Helene is strong, very well organized. There actually is some really deep convection. See how bubbly it looks here? Some deep convection firing up and around the outside of the eye wall. That is the eye making its appearance. And as it moves to the north, going to be a big problem here, expecting some pretty catastrophic impacts for parts of Florida from this. And this is rapidly intensifying as well. We are going to see the strength continue to increase all the way until landfall here. Currently at Category 2 right now, it was upgraded from a 1 to a 2 this morning, has winds of 105, gust at 125. Moving pretty quick here, 14 mile an hour. That's fairly fast for a tropical system as it moves off to the north. And it's going to be making landfall here probably tonight, based on projections from that. And you can see the track here brings it in. It will be just offshore at 120 mile an hour, probably makes it to the 130s, so it could be a 3, maybe a 4 as it makes landfall there. Just depends on how fast it moves there, if it keeps that track. There's not a whole lot of time, but boy, the water is warm there, so plenty of moisture for that. And then interestingly enough, it'll move inland. See this almost turn, and then it kind of sits here. We'd originally thought it was going to carry further to the north, at least the center circulation. Circulation now seems to kind of wobble more to the south instead. And so that will play some role in our weather locally. Maybe not as much heavy rain for all of us, but still going to see some impacts from that. The alerts-wise, look how far inland here tropical storm warnings go, all the way from Key West up into the western part of North Carolina, the entire state of Georgia, even eastern Alabama. And then these red colors here are hurricane warnings. Even that, hurricane force winds well into central Georgia. Be a pretty impressive storm. A lot of times when you have a big storm like this moving quickly inland, it takes time to weaken. There's a lot of momentum involved in that. And so those strong winds, that strong core of winds can really carry inland. Back in 2017, I think it was, Hurricane Michael hit the Panama City, Florida area. And those impacts were felt well inland. This is going to be similar, where the intense winds well inland from the storm here. And it's a fairly large storm as well. I'll show you that in a minute. Flash flooding. Going to be a problem. Already some flash flood warnings out there. Flash flood watches in this green color, the entire state of Tennessee, all the way through the Carolinas into the Virginia, West Virginia area. Broad area of some pretty heavy rain. And then storm surge. This is the deadliest threat from hurricanes. It's not the wind. It is the water. And in particular, the storm surge is a problem. Here in the Appalachian Bay, there could be 15 to 20 feet of storm surge coming inland. And that storm surge warning extends all the way up here. Some of those rivers will carry a lot of that water inland. And the curvature of the bay here also, the water kind of funnels in. When you get a storm coming in this way, this area is particularly susceptible for that. So places from Cedar Key up the Appalachian Bay are really going to have some problems with that storm surge as it moves on in. And then, of course, you've got the inland flooding on top of that. Tornadoes, another threat from this. I don't think that's going to be a problem for us, but there's tornado watches basically most all of Florida, except for the western part of the Panhandle, Georgia and Carolina, and a couple of tornado warnings even ongoing right now. So that's another side of things. You can see the risk of severe weather here. It's actually at a 7 out of 10 on our tornado index in eastern Georgia and in South Carolina. Could be a pretty prolific tornado producer over there. And then into tomorrow, That carries more towards the Carolinas there. Still that problem, but Saturday we don't have any risk outlined. I don't think we're going to have to worry about the severe weather side of things. Look at the size of the storm. In fact, let me back that up and show you that before it makes landfall here. This yellow circle is tropical storm force winds. It is a large, expansive wind field here. And so right now they're having tropical storm force winds, Miami, Naples, Fort Myers, Tampa, Orlando even there, of that greater than 40 mile per hour winds. Their core around the eye, obviously, are much stronger. This red area is those hurricane force winds. And as that comes inland here, watch how far inland these hurricane force winds go. That core, we're talking about a 50-mile wide swath of winds, and it extends far inland, even where the strongest winds greater than 75 mile per hour are inland. And then tropical storm force winds can still be a problem with that as it continues to head north tonight into tomorrow. Regional satellite and radar, we can see this big plume of moisture here, rain ahead of it. There's actually a weak cold front that's kind of swept on through. That brought us some rain earlier this week. And so a lot of that rain is being fed up that front. And then we're also starting to see on radar now the eye appeared. The radar beam can't get the entire storm from land, but seeing some of those features here, some tornadic activity there in the panhandle, and plenty of rain and wind from that. This large, expansive storm continues to work its way on inland. Let's talk here about how it comes in our direction in Illinois. So there's that front that's weakening. What's interesting is we talked about the Fujiwhara effect. Kind of a fun name to say. It's a water cooler conversation at work. As the storm moves inland, we've got an upper level low that's sitting here in the mid-Mississippi River Valley. And what that does is basically swing the remnants around to the west. We've not had a system do that in recent memory. And while the center circulation will end up staying south of us, and originally we thought maybe it would be more north, that low is just going to pull it on in. That low here, still, though, helping to send moisture well north here as it wraps around. And then eventually that upper level low is going to start driving off to the east. Some of you may be saying, okay, Fujiwhara, what is that? That's some made-up term or whatnot here. Fujiwhara effect is simply how two cyclonic vortexes or cyclonic systems rotate and merge together. Doesn't necessarily mean think of the movie Day After Tomorrow or something like that. It's not strengthening a superstorm. It's not like that. We're just merging the two circulations into one here. So here's the upper level low, and this is just broad paper. Here's Helene as it comes inland then and continues to weaken. You see that kind of effect where they merge together, and then eventually the parent low here, the overall combination will lift off to the east. Pretty fascinating. You see it a lot of times with tropical systems in the open waters. Occasionally you see it on land. We have not seen it really observed here in recent memory in the eastern United States, close to Illinois. And normally our tropical systems too, they carry off to the north and east. We get our tropical weather, we're looking for a landfall in Texas, and that moisture can then get swept off to the north and east. Sometimes it'll come up the Mississippi River, but to have a system coming in, turning to the west, very unusual because our weather system generally drives that way. We go from west to east, but that Fujiwhara effect, the merging of those two lows, is what's going to happen. I got a great way to demonstrate it for you here. We'll show you here with Future Track. First off, this right here, see the circle? That's the upper level low that's in place, kind of centered in the Ohio River, Mississippi River combination there in southern Illinois, down towards Memphis. And then this here is obviously Hurricane Helene. As you watch it come inland here, making landfall this evening into tonight, nighttime landfall, in fact, watch how it starts to swing to the north and west here. All that moisture being wrapped in by that upper level low. And you can see here how it phases together. The track line there kind of shows that, and then it's going to carry off to the north and east eventually late weekend into early next week, and that'll exit. But all that moisture is just being pulled in, wrapped around that upper low, which does bring us rain chances here locally. I'll walk you through today. Could be a couple spot showers this evening. I think the main chance for rain, though, comes tonight. We'll see a wave of rain then, probably arriving after 11 p.m. Down towards I-70 could be some pockets of moderate rain, more light scattered showers up towards I-72. And then overnight tonight into tomorrow, that will pick up. Probably at 9 a.m. tomorrow, we're looking at some pockets of moderate rain, even a few storms there. And the rain should get most folks here. Pontiac, Watseka, far northern Livingston, Fort Iroquois County, may miss out. There's a sharp cutoff from even the heavier rain in the middle here, but you kind of see how even into Friday evening, more of that moisture surging north, those showers still continuing along and south of I-72 east towards Danville. And Friday night then, look at all that rain there on I-70 still, where it's a little drier here towards I-55 and west of Decatur. But Friday night into Saturday, we'll still see some of those lingering tropical showers pivoting around, and that'll continue on and off through the day on Saturday, and then even into Sunday as well, expected to see some of that tropical moisture linger here. We'll see how much it is. I think the most rain comes Friday into Friday night and exits Saturday morning, but still some scattered showers expected into the weekend and potentially even into Monday. We'll watch and see. I wouldn't rule out Monday out as completely dry, but I think there's at least some scattered shower chances there as the system starts to exit. Then Tuesday, we might have a lingering few sprinkles here and there, but we should be drying things out pretty good. Rainfall totals here, fairly sharp cutoff in our area alone here. You'll see to the north, a couple of tenths, if that. Bloomington, Pontiac, Watseka, along I-55 towards Lincoln and west of Springfield. But where you saw all that rain spread over the same areas here, somewhere along and south of I-72 towards I-70, the area down there towards I-70 could be a 1 to 2 inch swath of rain when all is said and done. It's not all falling in a short hour of time, so it should be a steady rain at times here, but we could add that up and see 1 to 2, perhaps I-70 corridor, a quick cutoff to the north, probably around quarter to half inch along I-72 towards Danville, and then maybe a tenth or two if we're lucky towards I-55 and north of I-74 there. So that is something that we expect. Some folks are going to be up here and Clinton and Gibson City, probably not Gibson, probably Paxton. They'll be in Paxton instead. Nobody says that in Gibson. They're going to be up there and say, that storm wasn't done. We didn't get the rain we expected. Some folks down here in Toledo and in Casey and maybe down towards Fancher, places like that, could say, wow, yeah, we got some more rain out of that, especially with that last system. We had some pretty good totals across the area, so we'll add to that. Big turnaround for the dry start to September with these back-to-back systems bringing rain in. And some folks up here probably wish they had more, but we'll take what we can get, right? We need rain, so any rain is welcome here. This is kind of the rain chances graphic I've built. You can see isolated to the north as we go south and more scattered here, Bloomington, Champaign-Urbana northward to Watseka, and then Lincoln, Springfield, Jacksonville. More numerous than Taylorville, Decatur, Champaign-Urbana south, Tuscola, Danville, and then widespread rain expected Mattoon, Charleston, Paris, Shelbyville, Effingham, places like that. Your higher rain chances are to the south. Your lesser rain chances are to the north. And again, this is not necessarily a solid 3 days of rain, but we'll have rounds and clusters come on through. That 1 to 2 inch forecast down here, Effingham, Mattoon, Paris, is a marathon. You may not get it all in one go. There's still chance for several waves that we can add, just like the last system here. It's not a one night you get all the rain and done. So that is something that we're watching for that with those showers continuing into the weekend. I'm going to show you as well the wind, and the wind is probably actually an impact that will catch many of us off guard here. You can see right now, see how we have this northeast wind in place here? That is actually the wind field kind of from Helene starting to affect the atmosphere in our direction. And that's helped to pull some drier air our way. Typically, if Helene were to take a normal track, go up the eastern seaboard, we get a lot of dry air on the backside, have some warm days and cool nights, but that Fujiwhara effect is going to change things for us. But we're already seeing the atmosphere be impacted a little bit with that wind direction from Helene impacting it. And I'll kind of widen the... Let me widen the wind field for you here and kind of take it to the south a little bit. You can see there's Helene, and I'll drop the labels on there for you real fast. You can see how the atmosphere is affected in a very large area from this here, not necessarily in a bad way, but there's your low pressure. You've got wind coming in this way and around, and that's being affected by Helene and the strong low pressure there pulling wind around. So big area of atmosphere is being changed by that. Atmosphere is a fluid, right? As a fluid, it's going to be affected by things that are far away, and so our wind field is being affected by that even today. And that's helping to give us some nicer weather here across the region, so we do appreciate that. I'm going to walk through the wind, though. If you take anything away, it is going to be windy Friday, really windy Friday evening, and blustery still into the weekend here. Watch our wind gusts by after midnight. We'll see some wind gusts 30 to 35 along I-70, and they'll pick up for all of us, probably waking up on Friday with wind gusts there across the region, 35 to 45 with some higher gusts possible. I think the strongest winds, though, will come after 6 o'clock for us here. You can see, though, we still got 40, 45 mile an hour wind gust area wide coming on through. But as we hit that time period, 6 p.m. till midnight tomorrow, Friday, some of these wind gusts here along I-70 could get close to 60 mile per hour as a little core of winds comes on through there. The rest of us still up to 50. And then as we go through the day on Saturday morning will still be blustery, but those winds are coming down a bit, 30 to 40. That's still blustery. And even into Sunday, there may be still some breezy winds in place. So this is our forecast here. We're up to 60 in this orange area. We think between 6 p.m. and midnight, there could be a core of some wind gust up to 60 mile per hour. It could last a couple of hours as well coming on through. The wind direction will be from the north and east. And typically, when we get our storms, they come from the west, be a little bit backwards. If you think also of the heavier rain we've had down here, some areas the ground is fairly wet. And with rain falling, this could be a problem for us where we could have some fallen trees and potentially some scattered power outages, not out of the question for us with that in areas here. Not a widespread event, not going to be a huge impact, but it would not surprise me if we had a few trees come down in an inconvenient place and perhaps have some power outages. So we will watch that and keep a very close eye on that. But I think this here is probably the biggest and for some of us, maybe more surprising impact that we'll have from Helene as the two circulations come together south of us and bring some wind out of the east and northeast into our region. That is my update on Hurricane Helene. I'm going to answer some questions now in the chat. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Sometimes we get the chance to go longer than 3 minutes, and we say, hey, we went to get on and talk about some things, and that's what we get to do here. And so that is pretty fun. If you got any questions, let me know. It doesn't look like we have any questions so far, but we'll recap here for us. The most rain comes tonight through the day on Friday into Friday night. Still some scattered showers expected Saturday and Sunday. As we go into the wind potential, Friday will be windy. I think Friday evening, 6 p.m. till midnight is the most blustery conditions. Could be some sporadic power outages from that, some trees coming down with some wind gusts up to 60 from that. And that may be a period of 2 to 3 hours for some of us with those strongest winds. Though we'll have blustery winds through the day Friday. Some gusty winds still Saturday, but those winds should come down a bit Saturday into Sunday. And our rain chances Saturday, Sunday, again as well, scattered. There'll be some more dry time, but you will certainly notice that it is windy out there. And I tend to lean towards Monday being drier, some scattered showers possible, but we'll see the low start to exit off to the east, and that's going to allow for some quieter weather here across the region. That is the update I have for you. Just wanted to spend a little time here. If you've got outdoor plans this weekend, you are certainly going to want to watch Friday night football. Certainly could be impacted by this. If there's some turf fields, you don't really deal with mud in that, but if you've still got grass, probably be a mud bowl for some of those games Friday night. And the wind as well. I can imagine some of the high school coaches are probably thinking, we're probably going to be running the ball more than we will be passing. Try passing the ball in 40, 50 mile an hour winds. That could be interesting. And then in addition, if you're camping as well, you're going camping, you're out for the weekend overnight, you got to think about trees that are around you. Those trees could certainly be a problem. Limbs could come down if you're in tents, RVs even. There could be some sporadic trees here that come down. I don't think this is going to be like the derecho that came through. It's not a big 80, 100, 120 mile an hour wind coming through, but still some 50 to 60 mile an hour gust. One tree, inconvenient spot, comes down. There could be some power outages, maybe on a few houses here. But it certainly could be a problem for us here in Central Illinois. So that is something that I probably stress a little bit more for us is if you got those weekend plans, it's maybe not the best weekend to be out camping. Friday night football might not be fun. It'll be a bit of a windy, rainy weekend for us here across the region. But the good news is for us, I don't expect this to be a system that brings us severe weather. We find ourselves in the front right quadrant of it, but the problem is typically you're getting instability in place ahead of it. This is almost backwards, so it doesn't seem like this is going to be a severe weather threat for us. We'll keep an eye on that. So mainly the rain and the wind is all we're worried about. So I don't expect tornado weather here in Illinois from this. So that's some good news. Sometimes if you get that storm system coming from the south, that could be the case, but that should not be the biggest issue we have here as we go into our Friday, Saturday. I just don't at this point see that. But we'll keep you updated if that changes. That's my update. So it looks like I answered a couple of those questions. Again, Helene not made landfall yet. I'll show you real quick here the last tropical track update from the National Hurricane Center. A very expansive storm here that's moving on through. It's a Category 2 now with 105 winds. We're getting hourly updates now. And you can see how large the atmospheric flow is. There's moisture all the way up the eastern seaboard now and already flooding problems inland from this. There'll be a lot of significant flooding and a lot of storm surge around the Appalachian Bay area as this comes inland. And you can see here landfall happening tonight. probably 9 p.m. to midnight somewhere along the Appalachia Bay as a strong 3, maybe a Cat 4. We'll see. And then that track inland brings it generally up our way, but that Fujiwhara effect ends up keeping the center circulation south, but it kind of does this weird loop-de-doop type of thing. So pretty interesting to see that. If you're just joining on, this video will be available on Facebook, still applicable through the morning and into the evening. And so that is some good news for us. If you're traveling north or west, if you're going north and west of the Illinois River, rain chances diminish pretty quickly up there, though I still do expect some breezy conditions. We're kind of on that edge in our area where the heavy rain is I-70. I-55 doesn't get much at all. And so that's something that we'll keep an eye on. Pretty interesting meteorological setup happening for us. That's my update for you. And thanks for joining here. And I will see you on WCIA 3.